Rasheed Wallace and Tyler Johnson are discussing the GOAT and the best big man in the NBA. And through that whole conversation, they discuss who was actually better between Wilt Chamberlain and Shaquille O'Neal. So without any further ado, let's play what Rasheed Wallace had to say, and then we're going to come back and react to it. But before I play the clip, please like the video and subscribe to the channel.
In his whole career. I feel like there are other big, like Shaq or Wilt. Wow. Now that's a great question. Shaq or Wilt? Fuck. And I'm from Philly.
I was gonna say, you know them both, so
Wow.
careful.
Wow. Damn. I don't know, because both of them motherfuckers can take over a game. I would say on the slightest, I would probably give it to Wilt, being as though he was more offensive sound. You know, Shaq gonna dunk on you. Shaq had the little baby jump hook.
Mm-hmm.
But 9 times out of 10, he gonna dunk that shit on your fucking neck.
Correct.
But Wilt had a couple post moves. You know what I'm saying? And I think that's the only reason I probably would do that.
You go Wilt over Shaq.
Just by this much.
All right, so there you have it. So who would you want, actually? If you go all time, I don't really think it's a fair discussion, and I think the answer should be pretty obvious. Wilt, in my opinion, has accomplished more than Shaq, and more than arguably anyone at the center position, not named Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Both were monsters in their own rights, right? And they were probably the two most dominant players that we've ever seen. But even Shaq ranks himself below Wilt Chamberlain all time, and it's for one reason. Despite only 2 championships, Wilt is remembered for being the most athletic big man ever. Especially if you take into consideration what he was doing and his skill set in the era that he played in. It's not even close, you know. And as a result of that, he holds most of the NBA records out there. Matter of fact, he holds 72 NBA records. And most of them are so ridiculous that when we talk about his accomplishments or when other players try and climb up that ladder, we don't even bring up Wilt. What will most of the time happen will be like, yeah, take Wilt out of the conversation and we start from there, right? So I will just list some of Wilt's most ridiculous records that probably will not be broken ever, or at least not in our lifetime, the way the game is being played right now. For example, he has a 100-point game with 55 rebounds in it. So 100 points is already crazy. When I think about it, Joel Embiid could have had maybe 90 against the Spurs because he did it in 37 minutes. But still, you know, like that was such a mismatch out there. And I still don't think that he would have gotten 100 points. So for someone to go and drop 100 points in an NBA game, that would be crazy. And Joel Embiid, what made his performance very impressive when he had 70s, he still had 18 boards. But 18 compared to 55 boards is nothing. And Wilt was able to do all of that. I know it was more possessions in the game back in the days and all that, but still. Do you imagine if I ever saw a 55 rebounds game, I wouldn't care if the guy had 0 points. But for you to do that and still have 100 points, that says so much about your conditioning and everything. So shout out to Will for that. He also averaged 50 for a year. He's averaging 33 rebounds for a career. Like, these numbers are just ridiculous. So just off that, I know Shaq has more championships, but off that, I will give the nod to Wilt Chamberlain all time. The answer that Rasheed Wallace gave, saying that it's about skill set and that Wilt is able to do more from the post, I think it's kind of unfair, and I don't know that I agree with that. I wasn't around when Wilt was playing, but just looking at his highlights, I don't think he was doing anything from the post that was so otherworldly compared to Shaq. Matter of fact, I feel like Shaq is getting a pretty bad rap when it comes to his skill set, because him being so dominant, so powerful, we remember mostly Shaq for dunks and everything. But if you look at Shaq, especially young Shaq, he actually had very solid footwork for a big man, and you know he had a few post moves. So I don't think his skill set from the post is worse than Will Chamberlain. I would actually give the nod to Shaq. But again, I just saw a highlight. So if anyone watching this saw Wilt, feel free to correct me, right? But I guess let's make this debate more interesting. Who would you rather have today, given the way the game is played today? Who would you rather have, Shaq or Wilt? Let's talk about it. So first off, let's start there. They would both kill today. They would still be all-stars. They would still be top 10 players. Easy. If you look at Wilt, I know that being 7-1 isn't as crazy as it was back in the days, being in the league. So for Wilt, he probably wouldn't have such a big advantage when it comes to that mixture of athleticism and height, right? But still, in this NBA, maybe Giannis can match the combo of athleticism, agility, and strength, but that's about it. Joel Embiid maybe by a long shot, maybe, but I don't think he's as fast as Wilt. And Wemby, but Wemby is not there yet, right? So Wilt will still dominate. He also had a pretty underrated ability to face up, and he could pass a bit. So I think he would do damage. I think it would be similar to Giannis today. This version of Wilt that we saw don't really have a jump shot like that. I know Giannis, we like to clown on him, but he can still hit a few jumpers right now. So for the sake of these conversations, let's give Wilt a very average jump shot, just because it's 2024 and the people don't come into the league with no jumper whatsoever. But yeah, it would still do damage. I don't know if he would be the best player in the world though, but yeah, he's definitely all-star to top 10 caliber players today. If you look at Shaq, he might struggle a bit with the pace of the game just because the game is so up and down. So that version of him in Orlando would be fine, I guess. But that version of him on the Lakers and I don't know about him running up and down the court like that, chasing guards with the switches and everything. But just the damage, the destruction that would happen on the opposite side of the ball, you don't even care. I don't even know if it would be so bad that it would be a defensive liability, but even if he was, you wouldn't care because, man, if Shaq were able to catch the ball in the post against the centers of today's league, oh my God, bro, oh my God. The most comparable player to him today, at least when people bring up a name, would be Joel Embiid. And I don't think that their strength is even in the same stratosphere. Like Shaq would we're talking raw strength, he would demolish Joel Embiid. Joel Embiid, if he were to survive, he would have to hit those jumpers or whatever. Same with Jokic, but ain't no posting up Shaq and no defending Shaq with the centers that we have today. So Shaq would be such a problem. Shaq, I mean, we already saw what he was doing in the early 2000s when he was in good shape and in his prime. And it might be even worse today, even without a jumper. Yeah, and if we give him some kind of a jumper, I don't think it's as fair as, when I gave Wilt a jumper, just because Wilt was playing in the 60s. Shaq played in the 2000s. So I know the game wasn't so, we giving jumpers to everyone, but it's closer to that era. So I don't think we need to actually tweak Shaq like that. But, man, I think today I would want Shaq over Wilt. Just because, yeah, it would be such a mismatch out there. It would put everyone in foul trouble and no one would have an answer. Plus, with the increased pacing compared to back in the days, if you're able to be just a smart GM, an okay GM, you surround him with deadly shooters and oh my God, bro, that would just be complete destructions. So, yeah, today I want Shaq. All time I want Wilt. I think that's my answer. So anyways, we can close the video right here. If you made it this far, I appreciate you. Please like the video. Please subscribe to the channel. And let's talk about it in the comments. All time, who do you like, Wilt or Shaq, and why? And right now, if you were to build a team right now, would you draft Shaq or Wilt? Let's talk about it. It's been your boy. I'll see you guys later. Peace.